So you got pricked by a needle. What do you do? Hey, Torius, have you ever gotten pricked by a needle? Yes. I think about 7 times, right? It happened to me about 7 times. I was tattooing and I was piercing, right? I was piercing, and it would always happen when I would pierce noses. It was because noses for me was always hard. I think it's because of how I was taught, because I think there's easier ways than the way I was taught. I was taught to bend the needle and then put in the nose, right? Honestly, I feel like that's bohunky. And shouts out to anyone who doesn't use a cork when they're piercing. Y'all are fucking adventurers, for real, right? Y'all crazy as hell not using a dang cork when you're piercing, because that is so dangerous. Yo, it's so funny. I used to cut corks. Like they used to make us cut corks, and I'll be like, they'd be like, what are you doing? You're like, oh, well, I'm cutting these corks in half. They're like, why? Because I always wondered, what is the cork used for? But they're actually really good. I love corks. And if you don't use them, you're crazy. It's like using a condom, right? Using a cork is the equivalent of a piercing condom, right? But yeah, when you get poked, what you're supposed to do is immediately you tell the person, okay, by law, because the thing is, they won't necessarily, like, you know, they won't just do what you say, right? Unless you're very confident. They're not gonna just, okay, you know, go with you to the STD clinic, because I don't know, I think it costs money, I think, but you just have to inform them, just calm down, right? You get poked, it's like the end of the world, right? It's like when you get poked, you like reevaluate, like, do I want to do this? Do I want to risk getting HIV and getting some disease for like $30, right? It makes you really contemplate, and really makes you think about, you know, your life decisions. Because it's like when you know, it's basically, I remember I went to a seminar to get my piercing certification, and they were like, oh, getting poked by a needle is basically like having unprotected sex with the person, because it's like, you know, bodily fluids, blood. Because what I would do is I would put the needle in the nose, and then I would get touched on the needle. And sometimes I don't think that like it would really make contact. Like, I've never bled, right? I've never seen blood, but I know that it made contact. Like, I could feel the needle, right? And I'm like, oh my goodness, no. This is my scare. And it's like, when I went to the seminar, for my certification, the lady said, it's not a matter of if you get poked, it's a matter of when you get poked, right? Which means that if you're gonna decide to become a piercer or a tattoo artist, you're gonna get poked. A lot of the tattoo artists that I know, they've gotten poked. They're like, oh yeah, I was trying to do this line, and then poof, dang. And then, like, I guess I got AIDS now, is what they would say. And that's so crazy to me. That's like such a wild way to live, right? But yeah, you know, like, when you get poked, it really very much sucks a lot, you know, because it's like, now you're in this weird limbo of like, damn, do I have anything, or, you know? But the procedure is, you know, you just calm down, take a deep breath, get rid of all the fear that you have of like what you ever have, and just tell the client, okay, so this is the situation. While I was piercing you, the needle made contact with my skin, and while you may not have anything, I need to make sure that while I may not have transferred anything to you, you could possibly have transferred something to me. And if you're responsible, you would have them sign a document before they get pierced or tattooed, and it would state that I do not have AIDS, I do not have pregnancy or diabetes, or I don't have anything, right? Like, they're just basically signing a waiver saying that they don't have anything. So if you take them to the clinic, and you guys got to go at the same exact time, like, you can't wait on them, because they're probably not going to do it. So you have to do it right then and there. Like, it might be inconvenience to both of y'all's days, but this is your health on the line. This is the rest of your life at risk. So it's good to go to the clinic together at that same exact moment. Like, you got to tell your boss, like, okay, you know, I just got poked, I got to take this guy to the clinic, or this girl to the clinic. So you guys both go to the clinic. Like, I didn't know about this until after, because I got poked before I got certified, right, as a piercer. So I didn't know to do this, so I just didn't do it. And even when I was tattooing, I didn't really do it. But this is what you're supposed to do, because you run the risk of later on in life developing stuff or something, like you might have gotten something and you're like, where did I get this from? Oh, it's because I got poked, right? Same thing if you're having unprotected sex with somebody. Like you're having unprotected sex and then like a couple months later you got a couple bumps on you. You're like, oh, what the heck? Where did this come from? And you don't know. You know, it's like you want to make sure. You still got to go to the clinic and get tested with a person. Same thing with getting poked. So yeah, just you know, it's worth it. Just leave, go to the clinic, get tested, both of you guys, and if you guys are negative, then it's fine, it's good. But if they have something, like let's say they have hepatitis, right? They have hepatitis and C. They have hepatitis C. And they signed the paper, they said, I do not have hepatitis. But then they transfer you hepatitis. You can sue them. Because they basically, even if they don't know that they have hepatitis, they still sign that paper saying I do not have it. But then if it's proven that they do have it, because they could, you never know. Like, you know, if you have HIV and you're knowingly spreading it to people, then, you know, you can go to jail for that. And you could just say, I didn't know I had HIV, right? Like, you don't know if you have HIV or not. But then you're like, you know, spreading it, you're still, you know, like, but if you're knowingly doing it, you could just say, I didn't know I had it. You get me? So it's like, even though if they say, I didn't know I had hepatitis, they could just be lying, and they could have known the whole time. So it's important that you have them sign the document, and, you know, you take them to the clinic. Because you never know, like you never know what anyone has, right? You can't just assume, oh, this is a nice looking lady or this is a respectable looking man. Like, you never know who they could have been in a past life or what they could have done, or like you never know. Like, the people will look a certain way, but then they'll have so much going on in their lives. So it's always good to take precaution, or at least be aware of it, you know? Just be aware of what to do. Just don't ever take like, oh, okay, you know, this isn't something that you should be really relaxed on, because it's something that can affect the rest of your life. You know, as a piercer, you decide, okay, I'm gonna take that risk. I'm gonna take the risk of, I have to, you know, be prepared. Like, what if I get poked? What if, you know, like I touch blood or something? Because you're working with bloodborne pathogens. So yeah. Another thing, if there's blood on the floor of wherever you're at, don't spray it, right? You should never spray it first. Because what happens is that because we used to work with Cavicide, right? We used to use Cavicide, and we would spray the floor. Like, we would spray everything with Cavicide. But what happens is that when you spray the Cavicide on the floor or any aerosol, what happens is that anything in that blood will go up in the air, and it will affect, like, if you breathe it in, you could breathe in whatever's in that blood, even though you're spraying with the Cavicide or Mavicide or whatever side you're using, even Lysol. So whenever you see blood on the floor, sometimes it happens because people will be like especially with like nose bleedings, because people out, like, where I used to pierce people with 16 gauge needles, right? I used to pierce people with 16 gauge needles, and that shit would make a big ass hole in their nose, right? One time I think I even pierced with a 14. Nah, I don't think I ever did. That's too big. But I pierced with 16 gauge needles, and I would do it all the time, because it made it easier to put it in the hole. Because when I would use, say, 18 gauge needles, the piercing wouldn't really like stick, and sometimes it would fall out, and I was always not that good at putting the jewelry back in. I was always good at just piercing it. I'm such a way better piercer now. Where I made so many mistakes. Now I think about, like, wow, I'm so good at piercing now. Like, before I was such a terrible piercer. But I love piercing, it's so amazing. But yeah, what was I saying? You should dab the blood that you see on the floor. Like, if someone's bleeding or something, like from their nose or anywhere, like if someone's like bleeding a lot of times when people are bleeding a lot, it's because they either like took some type of blood thinner, like I would say, like, I guess tuna, like anything that like thins your blood, like Tylenol, marijuana, most drugs, alcohol, very specifically, you know, all that stuff thins your blood. So you got to make sure you know, like if you're gonna tattoo or pierce someone that's intoxicated, they're gonna bleed. I remember the other day I was tattooing my boy, and you know, he was drinking like a rum, like straight, right? And at first there was like no blood, but then as he kept drinking, more and more blood came out. And it was so funny. I'm like, fuck, this is like making, it's kind of annoying, right? It's kind of annoying to tattoo and pierce like drunk people. But yeah, with that being said, hope you learned something from this. Like the video, comment below what you think, subscribe if you're new. If you have any questions, just DM me on Instagram @Torius @6interviews. Make a video talking about your question. Also, don't forget to subscribe to my Patreon to donate to my charity hand on mine. Link is in the description. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.